ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. Pranams everyone. We are in the 5th chapter, Sloka number 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva ātma-Śuddhaye. So this portion of Sannyasa Yoga, Sloka numbers 10, 11 and 12, Bhagavan talks about Karma Yoga. And as I said, Karma Yoga Lakshana is given clearly in these slokas than probably in chapter 2 or 3. Of course, chapter 2 had some very good one, like it just talks about acceptance, it talks about what is Karma Yoga, is Karmanyevadikaraste. You don't have any right on, you have all the right on the actions but not on the outcome of the results. And then it also talked about what is Karma Yoga is basically the ability to be balanced. Now here in Sloka number 10, Bhagavan gave the one Lakshana of Karma Yoga, one another Lakshana of Karma Yoga, where Bhagavan talked about Karma Yoga to be dedicating the actions to Ishvara and not getting affected by the results. Sloka number 10, Brahmani Adaya Karmani. So dedicating the actions to Ishvara. Sangam Tyaktva Karoti Yaha. Renouncing the attachment and performing our actions. That is, renouncing means attachment, renouncing attachment on the results. So that was defined as Karma Yoga. And what is the benefit that Bhagavan said? He is not affected by papam. Lipyate nasa papena. He will have no papa. And how does a papa not affect him? It is as good as Padmapatra Imam Basa. Just as the lotus leaf is not wet by water, papam does not touch this person, Karma Yogi. Now in Sloka number 11, we saw Kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairapi. So here Bhagavan said, as far as the Karma Yogi is concerned, it is only the body, the mind and the intellect and the sense organs that are performing action. For him, he understands that it is, or for him, he knows that the body, mind and intellect perform the actions. They alone come into play. Kevalaihi indriyairapihi. Kevalaihi, we have to add it to everything. Kevalaihi, kevalena kayena, kevalena manasa, kevalaya buddhaya, kevalaihi indriyaihi. So which means he does not bring in the sense of mamakaram. There is no question of I am doing it, these are my actions. And again Bhagavan repeats Sangam Tyaktva, without attachment on the results of the action. So the Karma Yogis will not have any anxiety on the results of the action, whether it be a success or not. So actions which are performed without getting influenced by the likes and dislikes, without having this feeling of mamakara, without having an attachment on the results of the action, those actions, and those are the actions performed by Karma Yogi. And what is the benefit? Bhagavan says, why do they do the Karma Yogi do this? For Ātma-Śuddhaye. Ātma-Śuddhaye means mental purity. So this is the benefit of Karma Yoga. Benefit of Karma Yoga is Ātma-Śuddhaye, mental purity. In the previous sloka we saw Nacha lipyate papam. Here it is Ātma-Śuddhaye. So Bhagavan says, perform this Karma Yoga for your mental purity. So to purify ourselves, we have to live a lifestyle according to Karma Yoga or practicing Karma Yoga. So suppose if someone says, I do not want mental purity, I am used to living with dirty things around me, I can live with a dirty mind also. Why do I need to clean my mind? This is where we left off last class. So if someone says this, what we have to understand here is, when we say mental purity, there are many ways to explain mental purity. But what is the correct meaning or exact meaning is, mental peace is mental purity. The relative peace that the mind gets is mental purity. For example, if we have jealousy in our mind, will our mind be calm? Will be constantly comparing ourselves with others. Let's put this way, if we constantly compare ourselves with others, it means we have jealousy in our mind. If we have anger in our mind, will the mind be calm? No. If we have hatred in our mind, will the mind be calm? No. Therefore, mental purity means calmness in the mind. Not only these actions, but even desire. Our mind has various types of desires. It has a huge list of desires. Those desires can also keep our mind constantly thinking and agitated. And the desires actually also drive the action. It is the desires that are on the top of our mind that drive our action. For example, what are the actions that we would do first? We always would want to do the actions that we like the most. So we know that the actions that we perform are actually kindled by the desires which are on the top of the list or top of our mind. That's why we see, I have seen at least people who have said that, I would like to attend the Gita class. One day I will join them. They keep saying that, but they do not come for the class. It doesn't mean that they don't have the desire. They have the desire, but the desire is somewhere at the bottom. It's not at the top of the list. The desire to go for holidays, to go for a movie, to watch something on the OTT platform, or to go for a gossip, they are probably well ahead in the list. Now, even to know the truth, the desire to know the truth, the Ātma-tattva, or the desire to get liberated, the desire to get moksha, every one of us have it. The only question is where it is in the list of the desires that we have. Probably the desire is at the bottom of the pile. And there are so many other desires that have been already placed over it. And we'll have to now first exhaust or enjoy those desires, make sure that we have fully enjoyed it, and only then we can come to this desire of moksha. Now, how does this Ātma-Śuddhaye work? Now, this Ātma-Śuddhaye, it means that the desire to understand this Ātma-tattva, this Ātma-Śuddhaye will make that desire come up to the top. So this Ātma-Śuddhaye means that the desire to seek moksha, that becomes intense. This Ātma-Śuddhaye or this chitta-śuddhi will kindle our tīvra moksha-icchā. As I said, we cannot say that nobody has this desire. Everybody has this desire. But for most of them, it is one of those feeble desires. So Ātma-śuddhi or chitta-śuddhi, it means, here it can also mean, we can also take it as the desire to seek moksha becoming intense. But for that desire to manifest, remember, for any desire to manifest for that matter, it must come from the intellect. We say ichcha jñāna-pūrvakam. unless we have knowledge on something, on a thing, we will not get a desire for that. One cannot desire for something that is unknown. So for example, if somebody desires to go to Switzerland, it is because they have heard about Switzerland. If somebody doesn't have even heard about Switzerland, where would they have the desire to go to Switzerland? If someone doesn't know about Rolls Royce, will they feel like having a Rolls Royce for themselves? So icchā jñāna-pūrvakam. Unless we know something, there is no question of desire on that. So the root for desire is knowledge or viveka. So for us to be able to get this knowledge of moksha, get the desire of moksha, one must have this knowledge of what should be the goal of life, what is permanent, what is impermanent. That viveka one should have. What happens is the other desires that we have in our life, they make our intellect dim. Constant, they say doom scrolling or watching or getting addicted to social media, Facebook, X, whatever it is. They dim our viveka-śakti. They reduce the intensity of to understand what is permanent and what is impermanent. And therefore, the desire for moksha also, it becomes very feeble. There is an example that is given here elsewhere in our shastras. They say sandalwood has fantastic fragrance, but when it is kept dipped in water for too long, the smell is extremely bad. In fact, it will stink. But the same sandalwood, when we rub it on a stone, as we keep rubbing, the fragrance will come out. In the same way, the intellect which is dipped in desires, they lose its viveka-śakti. It is not that the viveka-śakti is not there. Just like the sandalwood has got a beautiful fragrance, but it is not evident. That fragrance was in an unmanifest state. Same thing, the viveka-śakti is an unmanifest state. And just like we rub the sandalwood and get the fragrance out, in the same way, by performing karma yoga, the ātma-śuddhi happens. So ātma-śuddhi means three things. Ātma-śuddhi means three things. First is what we said, moksha-icchā. That mumukṣutvam, tīvra icchā for moksha is ātma-śuddhi. One. Ātma-śuddhi also means second one, viveka-śakti. The understanding which is real, which is truth, which is permanent, that understanding, that viveka-śakti is number two. Ātma-śuddhi also means the mind to be calm. We said about jealousy, akrodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsaryam should not be there. Which means what? We should have ahiṁsā, akrodham, we should be able to share, there should be patience, there should be forbearance. So all the positive values is also ātma-śuddhi. So only when we have all these three, the mind will be calm. And this is what ātma-śuddhi means. So, and how do we get it? We need not do for each one sadhana. If you continue to perform karma yoga, then these three things will automatically come. Over a period of time, it will slowly build and we will slowly get it. And what is finally, by having these, the mind becomes calm. There is no agitation in the mind. We are able to sleep peacefully. We are able to sit in a place peacefully. We are able to think peacefully. The mind does not get agitated. There is no anxiety. And remember, only a calm mind can achieve things. If for anything, whether it is materialistic objectives, whether we have materialistic objectives or spiritual objectives, a calm mind is necessary. And therefore, to get this Ātma-Śuddhi, to get this moksha-icchā, to get this viveka-śakti, to get this good values, one must perform karma-yoga. These things do not come on our own. We cannot say, I read about good values. I read about not getting angry. I read about the ability sharing. I read about patience. I read about not getting angry. Just by reading or listening to lectures, one will not be able to imbibe these characteristics. For someone to imbibe these values, one must practice. And practice karma yoga. Only by practicing karma yoga, one will be able to get these things in life. So if we actually go back to the sloka, kayena manasa buddhya kevalayrapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva ātma-śuddhaye. So without getting influenced by the likes and dislikes, and without having this feeling of mamakara, the karma yogis, they perform the action with the body, with just the mind, with just the intellect, with just the sense organs, sangam tyaktva, without attachment on the results of the action. Ātma-Śuddhaye. Ātma-Śuddhaye we saw for the sake of mumukṣutvam, for the sake of viveka-śakti, and for mental calmness. So that is the purport or essence of the sloka 11. Now we'll go to sloka number 12. Yukta karma-phala tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nibhadyate. Yukta karma-phala tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nibhadyate. So in this sloka, Bhagavan, in the first line, Bhagavan gives the benefit of practicing karma yoga. Karma yoga anushtana phala. And in the second line, Bhagavan gives the consequence of not practicing karma yoga. So basically, karma yoga anushtana phalam and ananushtana phalam. What happens if we practice karma yoga? What has the consequence if we do not practice karma yoga? Now, what is the consequence or what is the benefit of following karma yoga or performing karma yoga? Bhagavan has already given. Ātma-śuddhi, mental purity, which we saw to be mumukṣutvam, viveka, good values. That is the benefit. The same thing Bhagavan gives it in different words in this sloka in the first line. Here he says, Yukta karma-phala tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim. Yukta means disciplined person, or in other words, a karma yogi. A person practicing karma yoga. What does he do? Tyaktva karma-phalam. Again, Bhagavan says, this is the third sloka where he says sangam tyaktva, sangam tyaktva, now tyaktva karma-phalam. Renouncing the results of the action. Renouncing the results of the action doesn't mean that he does not take any results. He performs an action, he gets a result out of it, he does not say, I don't want the results. That does not mean renouncing the results of the action. It only means he does not have any expectation on the results. He accepts the results as it is. Here, Tyaga denotes acceptance. Acceptance without complaining, without any grumbling, without feeling disappointed. If the results go against your likes and dislikes, your likes rather, So tyaktva karma palam, accepting the results as what it is. And then Bhagavan gives the phalam in the first line. Shantim apnoti. Apnoti shantim. He attains mental peace. The result of Ātma-Śuddhi. In the previous Sloka we saw Ātma-Śuddhi. Ātma-Śuddhi means mental purity. The result of mental purity is mental peace. So Shantim, mental peace. If we ask someone, do you want mental purity? Do you want your mind to be pure? Some may say, I don't want it. Let me be like this. But if we ask them, don't you need mental peace? Do you want calmness in your mind? Everyone will say, yes, I need. I don't want to be agitated. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel any depression. So, Shantim apnoti. Now, Bhagavan says, Yukta karma palam tyaktva Shantim apnoti. So, a karma yogi, by renouncing the results of the action, attains mental peace. But how? How does he get the mental peace? Bhagavan says in the next word, Naishtikim. Naishtikim means born out of the nishtha of karma yoga. So, renouncing the results of the action, the karma yogi attains mental peace that is born of the discipline of karma yoga. By following karma yoga, one attains mental peace. So, here when we say mental peace, we can call it as relative peace. See, there are two types of mental peace. One that is attained through moksha. That is absolute peace, ultimate peace. And the other attained through karma yoga. Karma yoga will give us relative peace. Relative peace doesn't mean that there is no peace. The relative peace itself will give enormous amount of happiness in our mind. So how do we differentiate this relative peace and mental peace, absolute peace? Suppose say a person is hungry. For his hunger to vanish, he has to eat food. And suppose he goes around to various places to seek food. Now the moment he gets the food in hand, there will be some bit of mental calmness. As in, at last I have my food. It has not gone into the stomach. But he had wanted the food badly. He was restless to find it. Now that the food is at hand, that restlessness is gone. There is a mental calmness. And that is being referred here as relative peace. That is how we can actually understand relative peace. Same way, suppose say a person is seeking the right guru. And then once he gets the guru, he will get an immediate mental peace. It's not that the teachings have started working. It's just that he is now calm that he has found the right guru, and therefore there is some mental peace. The absolute peace is only after learning the shastras and getting that knowledge. But there is an immediate peace, relative peace, that is considered, that itself will give some bit of calmness in the mind. And that is the difference between relative peace and absolute peace. So the relative peace of getting the sadhana, or the relative peace of getting that upayam to attain what we want to finally achieve. So we know now the means, or we know at least we are in the right path, or we know that this is going to lead us to the absolute peace. So whether be it moksha, whether be it the food, or whether we be jnana, that understanding that I have that sadhana or upayam to get to that final destination, that is being referred to as Shantim. So the benefit of Karma Yoga is that it gives a clear understanding of our lakshya, of our goal. And through that understanding, we get that desire. As I said, ichcha jñāna-pūrvakam. So I understand where do I need to get to. And therefore now I have the desire, ichcha. And the benefit of Karma Yoga is that it will give me the right guru. It will help me to get the right knowledge from the right guru. So once we perform Karma Yoga properly, it is only a matter of time. First of all, once we started practicing Karma Yoga, we will get relative peace. And once we start practicing Karma Yoga, it's only a matter of time for us to get the absolute peace. It is like being once you step onto the escalator, then there is no need for you to worry. So once we start doing Karma Yoga, once we start converting all our actions as Ishvara Arpana and Prasada Buddhi, and not getting our likes and dislikes come in the way of doing our duties, not worried about the results of our action, or not getting attached to the results of our action. If we continue to have that attitude, that alone is enough for us to get to the final stage. It will automatically take us there. So that relative peace is being referred by Bhagavan as Naihtikim Apnoti Shantim. He attains mental peace that comes out of Karma Yoga Nishtha. So this is important to understand where Karma Yoga leads us to. So from here on, the searching stops, because Karma Yoga has taken us into the right path, and Karma Yoga will make us qualified for the next step, and that next step will be Upasana Yoga. Upasana will take us to the right step, which is Jnana. Jnana Yoga, which will be Shravanam. Continuous Shravanam will lead us to Mananam. Continuous Mananam will lead us to Nididhyasanam. So it will automatically happen. But some people misunderstand that Karma Yoga itself is an end. That is wrong. Karma Yoga is not the end. Karma Yoga is the means. So if we take Naihtikim Apnoti Shantim as absolute peace, suppose Bhagavan, if we take this, Yukta Karma-phalam Tyaktva Shantim Apnoti Naihtikim. Suppose we say Naihtikim Apnoti Shantim is actually absolute peace, which is moksha. Then how we have to understand this sloka is, Karma Yoga is one of those intermediary steps to reach this final goal. So after Karma Yoga, there is Jnana Prapti, Jnana Nishtha, and that Jnana Nishtha Phala is Shantim, or moksha. So that is how we have to understand this sloka, depending on how we interpret this Shantim. Shankara Bhagavad Pada has taken the second meaning, as in Shantim to be the absolute peace, and therefore he had said that Karma Yoga will lead us to Jnana, and Jnana will lead to Sannyasa, Sannyasa will lead to Jnana Nishtha, and that will lead to Shantim. So we can take it both ways. So this is Karma Yoga Phala. Now we will come to the second line. So first line talks about the benefit of following Karma Yoga. The second line, as we saw, is the consequence of not following Karma Yoga. What happens if a person does not live a life of Karma Yoga? If a person does not have a dharmic lifestyle. See, again, as I said, everybody wants to have a peaceful mind. Everybody wants to have a calm mind. Everybody wants to have a happy mind. But then what they do? They do all things that are against that is against this outcome. They do all actions that do not lead to this outcome, but to the other. They do all actions that will not give them any of this mental peace or calm mind or a happy mind. And some people also claim, and they also believe, they also preach, if we speak the truth, we cannot survive. or if we speak the truth, we cannot be peaceful, or in this world, one has to be nasty. All these kind of things people think, believe and preach. Bhagavan is going to say here, they become bound. They become bound means what? They become bound to samsara. Some people say, in this world, in today's times, you cannot live according to dharma. And they do not believe in dharma. Because they think by following dharma, one is going to suffer. And of course, our Puranas also say the same. Harishchandra, he wanted to speak the truth. He suffered. Rama followed dharma. He suffered. Physically. And sometimes mentally also. So, this seems to clearly indicate to them that dharma is not the way to follow, or dharma is not one should follow in this world. But that's wrong. The mental peace that one gets by following dharma cannot be explained. It cannot be explained. Only by following dharma one will be able to really understand. So, here Bhagavan says, ayukta kamakarena. Ayukta means indisciplined person, a karmi. A person who does not follow karma yoga. A person who does not follow karma yoga is karmi. The person who follows karma yoga is a karma yogi. And for a karmi, what is his lakshya? What is his goal? His lakshya is bhoga, enjoyment. He wants to lead any sort of life to gain what he desires. So he does not have any shraddha on shastras, vedas, dharma. That person is called as ayuktaha. Our Shastra says that one who actually criticizes Vedas, he will get papa. Anyway, so here Bhagavan says he is an ayuktaha. He does not have any shraddha on shastras or dharma. So let's talk about Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi, how does he validate his actions? Whatever actions he wants to perform, he will do a check whether these actions are prescribed by the Vedas, whether these actions are authorized by our Shastras, whether these actions are endorsed by our gurus and elders. He will do that kind of validation. Because what happens, our mind normally, as I said, our actions are induced by our desires. And our mind, due to its svabhava, has got a lot of desires in our mind, and therefore they induce us to do certain actions. But we must be the one who must use our intellect to filter what is right and what is wrong. And that is the purpose of the intellect. Whereas for animals, they do not do this thinking. They do not do this validation. Because for animals, it's pre-programmed. For us, it is not like that. We will have to look into the Shastras. We will have to understand, know the teachings, what has to be performed, what is not to be performed, what is to be restricted, what is to be avoided. So if a person has Shraddha on Shastras, he will do that. If a person does not have Shraddha on Shastras, and therefore he does not perform Karma Yoga, what will be the trigger for his actions? Bhagavan says, Kama-karena, ayukta Kama-karena. Kama-karena means due to the impulse of desire. He performs the action due to his desires. So he does not use this dharma adharma filter. He desires it and therefore he does the action. What him? Ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nibadyate. Phale sakto. Phale sakto means, earlier we saw karma palam tyaktva, here phale sakto. Saktaha means attachment. Phale means results. So he is attached to the results of the action. So whatever actions he performs with an attachment to the result. He will perform only if there is something in for him. Some people say we should not do things unless there is something in for us. We should not go out of the way to help people. That means be always phale saktaha. What happens to them? Badhyate. Bhagavan says nibadhyate. Badhyate means bound. Nibadhyate means definitely bound. Totally bound. Which means what? He loses mental peace. Because sometimes what happens is we do for people, we do actions thinking we will get something in reserve back. We do it because we think that the other person will praise me, will do something in return, will acknowledge what I do. And then the other person, so which means what? We are already attached to the results. And then the other person does not do these things. So what happens? Now our mental peace is lost. We get agitated, we get angry. And we become totally bound. We lose mental peace. So whatever happiness that the person would have got by performing the actions, because at the time of doing actions this person would be happy. I am helping this person. I am happy to help that person. That also is lost. So for some people what happens is they do not do any action unless they are very sure of getting the result that they want. And for those people, if you ask them, they will say, over a period of time, after some time when you ask these people, they will say, I have money, I have comfort, but I don't have any peace of mind. I am not able to sleep when I lie down. There's a constant agitation in my mind. And that is the result of adharma. And again, this is not necessarily happens only in this janma. It can happen because of the mind going through these svabhavas in the previous janma also. So the actions that are done by a karmi will not give peace, will not give any security, will not give any happiness. On the other hand, the actions of a karmi will give only disgrace, sorrow and ignorance. And whatever little knowledge that the person has, whatever little viveka-śakti that the person has, that also would be lost. Remove the knowledge that the person has. That's why Bhagavan, if he wants to bring an adharmic person down, there is a person who is actually doing a lot of adharma, what he will do? Bhagavan needs to give that person only little more wealth and money. A little more wealth and money is enough to bring that person down. Because the person will not know what, he will have a lot of money but will not have no knowledge on what to spend on. The money itself will be the cause for his downfall. Other people might think, even this person himself might think, Ishvara likes me, I am actually a favorite son of Ishvara, and that's why Bhagavan has given me a lot of this money. Other people will also think, he is so lucky, Bhagavan has blessed him with a lot of money. That does not indicate whether that person, that is a blessing or curse. The problem is we do not reflect on these things. If we properly understand the world, by continuously remaining in Shastras, by continuously reading Shastras, listening to the right things, we will come to know these things. These are all subtle things that we will come to know. We will also come to know that Dharma can give peace of mind. Not having any attachment on the results of the action will give us mental peace. On the other hand, however much we yearn, if we are going against Dharma, it will give us only sorrow. And that is the secret of this universe. That is the secret of this prapancha. It's a secret because not many people realize. Even if we realize in this class, after going out, we will forget it. That's why it's called as a secret. So Bhagavan says, Nibadhyate, he is definitely bound. He loses mental peace. So in this sloka, Bhagavan concludes on Karma Yoga. And now he will be going back to jnana. So here Bhagavan says, renouncing the result of action, tyaktva karma-phalam, yuktaha, a karma yogi, shantim apnoti naishtikim. He attains peace born out of karma yoga, born out of following karma yoga, born by following out of karma yoga. Ayukta kamakarena, phale-saktaha, attached to the results of the action, kamakarena, due to the impulse of desire, ayuktaha, an indisciplined person or a karmi, nibadhyate, is bound, and therefore he loses mental peace. That is sloka number 12. Now we will go to sloka number 13. Sarva-karmani manasa sannyasaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. Sarva-karmani manasa sannyasaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. So Bhagavan comes back to this topic of jnana and sannyasa. Remember, this chapter is called Sannyasa Yoga. So Bhagavan comes back to the topic of jnana and sannyasa. Only those three slokas are about Karma Yoga. Now in this sloka, Bhagavan says, a person who attains jnana will become a sannyasi like this, and he gives a description of the sannyasi. In other words, a jnani's sthiti is being talked about here. How will a jnani be? What will be the state of a person who has attained jnana? That is what is being talked about here. Now, if we listen to this, we should be able to relate this to another topic which we have seen in the earlier chapter. If you remember Sthita Prajna Lakshana in chapter 2, that and this topic are one and the same. We had seen there Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha about a jnani's Lakshana. That is given here again. And Shankara Bhagavad Pada, he considers this shloka to be very important. And therefore, he quotes this shloka in various bhashyas. And for this shloka, he has given a long commentary in his Bhagavad Gita bhashya. So we too will look into it in a little more detail. What we will do is we will take word by word meaning of this shloka and also see what the Acharya had given as an explanation. So we said this shloka is about a jnani sthiti. Not only that, it says that once a person attains jnana, we had seen this earlier also. Once a person attains jnana, he is qualified to become a sannyasi. A jnani has an adhikara on sannyasa. That means, once a person attains jnana, the Shastras give him a free hand to renounce all his duties, renounce all actions. Whichever state he is, whatever he is doing. He has got the right to renounce all his actions. So first we will see the shloka, the meaning, then the words. Sarva-karmani manasa sannyasya. Sarva-karmani means all actions. Sannyasya, renouncing. Manasa, through knowledge. So renouncing all actions through knowledge. Sarva-karmani manasa sannyasya, or other words, sannyasya sarva-karmani manasa. Renouncing all actions through knowledge. Aste sukham vashi. Aste means seated. How is he seated? Sukham, comfortably. Sukham aste, he is comfortably seated. Who is that? Vashi. Vashi means one who has controlled everything. In other words, self-controlled person. Who is a self-controlled person? Jnani. So, renouncing all actions through knowledge, this jnani or self-contained person is comfortably seated. Where is he seated? In the second line that is given. Now, before we go to the second line, we'll come back to the first line. Sarva-karmani. Now, this sarva has a lot of importance. See, before attaining jnana, if a person takes up sannyasa, and remember, when can a person take up sannyasa? One, we saw if he attains jnana, or if a person has got tīvra vairagya. If a person has got tīvra vairagya, he also has got a right to take sannyasa. But even when he has tīvra vairagya, he cannot renounce all actions. There will be some duties for him. As being in sannyasa ashrama, there will be some japam that he has to perform. There is something called sannyasa ashrama dharma. There will be some do's and don'ts for him. There will be time like he must shower so many times in a day. He cannot eat these things in his life. On certain days he will have to fast. There are a lot of restrictions for a sannyasi. And in fact, if we see all those restrictions, nobody will have the desire to take up sannyasa. So even if he has got tīvra vairagya, he takes up sannyasa also. He has got some sannyasa ashrama dharma to follow. Now remember, this is only for a sannyasi who takes up sannyasa because of tīvra vairagya. If a sannyasi, for a sannyasi who has taken up the sannyasa because of jnana, because he has got jnana, for him there are no restrictions, there are no duties, there are no do's and don'ts. Therefore here, sarva-karmani means all actions. All actions mean what? We saw already, we had seen karma to be different karmas. Nitya karma, naimiti karma, kamya karma, prayaschitta karma. All actions. Nitya karma, we saw compulsory duties for every ashrama. They are not applicable for a jnani. Sarva-karmani. Manasa. Manasa means, it means mind. But Shankaracharya, he takes it to be viveka-buddhya. He says knowledge. Renouncing all actions through knowledge. Why? Only because he has that viveka, he has been able to renounce all actions. See, this manasa can be misunderstood. It can be taken as a person has been able to renounce all actions through mind. As in, I am renouncing all the actions by mind, but I am still performing the actions through body and mouth. So I will not perform any actions through my mind, but I will perform all actions through my body and mouth. Kayika, vachika. But that is not the meaning here. Here manasa means, manasa has to be taken as knowledge. Sannyasya means renouncing. Renouncing what? Renouncing all actions through knowledge. Some people say, I have renounced drinking coffee. That is possible. But can someone say, I have renounced drinking fire, or I have renounced eating mud. It cannot be said. One can renounce something only which can be performed or what can be experienced. So when we say a jnani renounces all actions, it means that the jnani has the opportunities to perform these actions and yet he renounces them. But that is not the case also here. We cannot say that is not how it should be understood for a jnani. A jnani renouncing actions or a jnani renouncing karma is not because that the actions or karma is there. He is renouncing them because according to Shastra, there are no actions or karma for him. There are no duties prescribed for him. How could we say that? Because he has attained the knowledge that the self is Atma. And for him and for everybody, Atma can never do any actions. Atma can never do any actions. What we have done, we have superimposed the non-existent actions on Atma. When we say I am acting, I am the one who is performing this action. For us, when we say this, if we understand ourselves to be the Atma, we will not say that. But because we are identifying ourselves with the body and mind, we can say, I am the one who is doing these actions. For a jnani, he does not identify himself with the body and mind, and therefore there are no actions for him. Therefore, whatever actions that he is renouncing them are renounced only through knowledge. The knowledge, so manasa means knowledge here, because he has understood that he is the Atma, or the self is Atma, and therefore there are no actions for the Atma. Therefore, through knowledge, he has renounced all actions. More on this we will see in the next class. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, if not, then I'll take up another word, Sannyasa. Sannyasya. Knowledge to understand is Sannyasya. Sannyasya means here renouncing. So only if Atma does anything, it can renounce something. Atma does not do anything. And therefore, Sannyasya karmani cannot work unless you put manasa. So the jnani understands through knowledge and he renounces all actions through knowledge. So he understands the knowledge, he has the knowledge that Atma is akarta, and therefore he renounces all actions through knowledge. So that's why renouncing all duties or actions through knowledge, sukham aste. Sukham aste means comfortably seated, seated with contentment. What is, if the question is asked, what is the most difficult thing to be with, or with whom you find it more difficult to live with? Some people may say, with my in-laws, with the boss. But the reality, the truth is, for everyone, the most difficult person to be with is oneself. To be with the self, to be alone, is the most difficult thing. If we have to live with ourselves, with nobody around us to talk to, with nothing for entertainment, nobody to talk to and all, it will be worse than a nightmare. It will be very, very difficult. That's why solitary confinement is considered to be a very severe punishment. It is not easy to live with oneself. That is the biggest truth, and this is samsara. Whereas a jnani sukham aste is comfortable with self. If we are able to be with ourselves without the need for others, the need for entertainment, then that itself is moksha. So sukham aste, vashi. Vashi means jnani, one who has controlled the body, mind and senses, one who is self-controlled. Where is he seated? We will see in the next class. Next line we will see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo.
Hari Om. Hari Om.